the Gus Nyquist acquisition, that's one that certainly doesn't feel great right now.
No, it doesn't, and like I think at the time, me and Mike were like, look at the prices for like the Nelsons and all those guys of the world, and I think the Wild tried to get ahead of things, and I think they liked him from last time, and he had a down season though. That's the whole thing. He had a down season. It wasn't a surprise he had a down season, or it wasn't a secret. So were they betting on the 75-point guy from the year ago that they thought, they knew this guy can fit in this lineup. We don't need to be a top line guy. He'd had some scoring depth. He could play the penalty kill, which was struggling. So I can see some scenarios why they wanted to. Just the price was a little high, I thought, for me. And then the fact that no one expected him to go, I guess 2 goals in like 29 games, Mike, and like 300 minutes without a shot on goal in the playoffs. And obviously the offsides call could happen to anybody, but the fact that it happened to him obviously puts an exclamation point on what was, for him and for, the Wild, a disappointing tenure here this year.
Yeah, I mean, I also, like, at the time saw why they did it. One, they were getting ahead of everybody else. They saw what the prices were going to be. They had him before, so they had that, and that was only 2 years ago. And he played really quite well. He had 75 points last year. So I think that they were betting on that. The fact that he was on such a crummy team is what affected him 5-on-5. As it turned out, it looks like to me, he's lost a significant step. And so, yeah, it didn't work out. As much as they try to, act like he did all these little things, little things then need to include, if you're not producing, staying on sides on a potential game-winning goal in a playoff game. I mean, that's simple. It was funny interviewing him the other day, Joe, because, he made a really good point, but it was just funny the way that he sort of explained it. Is that he's like, look, if the linesman gets the call right, we're not even here talking about this. But
that's
but
awesome.
that doesn't stop.
It is true.
It is 100% true. But at the same token, he was kind of ripping the linesman from the game before for not letting the Brazo play out on the breakaway, and it was a bad call. So he was kind of saying, I like when they let it play out, because then if you have a goal, you have a chance to review it. But then he was saying, but if they got the call right, then I'm not the one looking like the GOAT today. So it was just kind of funny. But, the other token is that you're 35 years old, an extremely smart player he is, and he just did not do enough to stay on side there, and you have to. It's funny because I've been watching all these late game rallies in the last couple of days, like in both game sevens in the last round, with Winnipeg and St. Louis, and then obviously Dallas and Colorado. And there have been so many plays late in games where you could just see guys are so careful to stay outside, and turned out to be huge goals. And on rallies, obviously St. Louis getting scored on 1.6 seconds left, and Dallas having an unbelievable comeback, in Game 7 as well. So and 6. So it was 6, right? I can't even remember.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's not a great trade, and the Brazo, it wasn't a good deadline for the Wild.
Sure. And the one thing that everyone grabbed onto from the player availability was Gustav Nyquist saying he'd love to come back. Is there any shot that happens?
I don't see it.
I don't see it. I mean, I know Guerin was asked if they're interested in any UFAs coming back, and he said, I think something, I think so, or probably, or like, you probably don't want to say no right away, without going into it or seeing, like, there's guys like, Johansson, we don't know what has to happen with him. John Merrill's there. I doubt they'll probably sign him because of all their defense they need to kind of get in playing time with Juracek and all that stuff. So yeah, I don't think.
Yeah, to me, when he said that, didn't he actually identify, like, there's one? Didn't he say that, or am I making that up?
I think he might have said there's one, or there's possibly one.
Like,
but
to me, that would have to be Johansson. That would be the only one that would make any sense whatsoever, just because he's handy up and down the lineup. He had a pretty decent year. He was good down the stretch. And he's the type of guy that, there's a lot of scuttlebutt out there. We didn't get to talk to him before he took off for the World Championship, but there is a lot of scuttlebutt out there that he has decided that he either wants to play here or return and play for Farstad. So, which is his hometown, not home. It's where he lives now. He's not from Karlstad, but that's his team. So that's the big kind of rumor there. And I'm sure a lot of that actually will come out with the World Championship being in Sweden. I'm sure that he'll be quoted here at some point in the next couple of weeks and what his intentions are. Maybe the Wild have interest in bringing him back. As long as, as long as it's in a, hopefully they're not just feeling the need to just constantly keep them on the top 6 again. But yeah, I don't think Gus is coming back. When Bill Guerin essentially in his opening statement of the press conference brings up the offside, clearly he's blaming him for the offside. So I'd be shocked if he brought it up.
That's fair.